God created us like a man invents an engine. We are his invention. An automobile is designed to run on gasoline. Any other fuel will cause it to malfunction. In the same way, God made the human body to function only on himself. He is the food our spirits were meant to eat or the gasoline they were meant to burn. No other exists. For this reason, it makes no sense to beg God to fulfill our happiness without regard to religion. Since happiness and tranquility are not there, God is unable to grant them to us apart from himself. Such a thing does not exist. This passage is taken from C.S. Lewis's book, Mere Christianity. Every tear you have shed and every solitary prayer you have said is heard by God. Even at your darkest moments, he is at your side because he understands the depth of your pain and the cries of your heart. Life can be really difficult at times. Everybody experiences times of tiredness when they feel like their strength is fading and their spirits are low. It is crucial to keep in mind that you are not alone throughout these trying moments. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest, says Matthew 11:28. It can be challenging to see the brightness when our struggles are at their worst. Feeling disoriented and isolated is a common reaction when the burden of our issues becomes intolerable. Lewis claims in Mere Christianity that trusting in God needs to start every day afresh as if nothing had been accomplished. But in these times, it's critical to keep in mind this profound truth. God hears your cries and sees your suffering. God's timing is always flawless, and his purpose will always win out. So let us put our faith in his perfect plan and timing. As stated in Lamentations 3:25-26, it is fine to wait silently for the salvation of the Lord. The Lord is good to those whose hope is in him, to the one who seeks him. According to 1 John 3:20, God is greater than our hearts and understands everything, even when our hearts condemn us. Therefore, my dear brother and sister, never give up hope, for God is still king and reigning. He is God with us. He is Jehovah Nissi, Jehovah Shalom. Hold on to your hope. God understands how tired you are. Just wait patiently for him. Your blessings will come to you at the appropriate time, which your Heavenly Father has predetermined. Please get ready to accept this message as I share some crucial biblical lessons on waiting on God with you today. Waiting patiently for God to answer our prayers is one of the hardest things about being a Christian. According to Lewis in Mere Christianity, I am sure that God keeps no one waiting unless he sees that it is not bad for him to wait. Every Christian has gone through this phase of waiting, during which nothing seems to be changing. We often wonder why God allows us to wait, but I want you to know that God has perfect timing. He is a God of precision and order. As it says in Isaiah 46:10, I reveal the end from the beginning, the old times, and the future. I will do as I please, and my purpose will stand, I declare. He refers to a man from a far-off region who serves his purpose as a bird of prey from the east. The Bible makes reference to this issue several times. Waiting is one of the hardest things to do in life, especially when it comes to waiting on God. A lot of us may identify with this emotion. You've prayed till you've cried out, asking God, why is it taking so long? Do you hear what I'm saying? Have you overlooked me? Are you concerned? Perhaps you are praying for someone you love to experience a spiritual awakening or for respite from chronic suffering. According to Jeremiah 33:3, call to me and I will answer you, and I will tell you great and unsearchable things that you do not know. Maybe you're seeking the blessing of a life mate, healing from severe emotional scars, mending a broken relationship, or steady work to support your family. Although it can be difficult to wait, patience is a virtue. It feels like there is no answer the more you pray. You hold to faith and trust without reservation, but God has not shown you any indication that he has heard you or that he is at work. You just want a sign. Any sign will do. Lord, show me something, anything. However, there are moments when nothing but quiet exists. What then is God doing right now? Why is he acting so silently? Recall the Joseph account found in the book of Genesis. Joseph endured years of waiting, slavery, and captivity, as well as his brother's betrayal. But God was with him every step of the way, orchestrating everything. Joseph comforted his brothers in Genesis 50:20, saying, "You meant to hurt me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Joseph's journey shows us that despite our perceptions to the contrary, God's timing is perfect. You might get the same sense of being imprisoned or stranded in a pit as Joseph did, waiting to be saved. However, allow me to reassure you, God is not absent simply because he appears to be mute. While you wait, God is still at work. His grace, provision, strength, and goodness are working behind the scenes. Because he genuinely cares about you, he is always working for your benefit. He is a devoted father who has amazing things planned for you. He wants to see you prosper and be blessed. So let's talk about a few principles for patiently waiting on God today, and let's be willing to embrace these important biblical guidelines with an open heart and mind. Principle 1. God's delays are not God's denials. In C.S. Lewis in Mere Christianity, I am sure that God keeps no one waiting unless he sees that it is not bad for him to wait. Whenever you achieve your goals, the outcome is either something completely different or something much better. Asking God for an answer is just the first step in the correct direction. It's not the full solution. Waiting is often considered as a waste of time in a world where instant results are valued. Our time is valuable, and as such, we live in a dynamic, fast-paced environment where we expect instant results from technology. It seems counterproductive to wait, as though we are losing out on possibilities. Anxiety and uncertainty can arise throughout this waiting period. We could begin to wonder if there's a problem because waiting goes against our culture of instant satisfaction. Waiting is difficult when uncertainty hangs over us. Uncertainty about the result breeds doubt, leading us to wonder if God will provide for us. The impulse to assume control grows as doubt spreads. Herein is the risk, though. Things can go horribly wrong if we attempt to exert our own authority during the interim. The Bible cautions us against trying to handle things on our own since it can get complicated. According to Proverbs 3:5-6, believe in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your route straight. But we are tempted to take charge when we are waiting for what seems like forever, when our prayers are not answered, when time is elapsing. Maybe you're in this desperate situation right now. Despite your prayers, waits, and trust, nothing appears to be changing. Before you realize it, you are tempted to give up on God and your faith because he did not live up to your expectations. Doubt murmurs, "What if?" But let me pose this question to you. God, how long until you choose to walk away from him? How long until you cut ties with him since he didn't live up to your expectations? Recall that God follows his own schedule, not ours. Thus, avoid the need to assume control while you're waiting. When time seems to be running out, trust in God's perfect timing. Remain hopeful, maintain your faith, and recognize that God is constantly at work, even when you are waiting. Take John 11's account of Lazarus as an example. In the hopes that Jesus would visit and heal their brother Lazarus, Mary and Martha informed Jesus that their brother was ill. But because Jesus postponed his visit, Lazarus passed away. Mary and Martha were in mourning and wondered why Jesus had not come sooner until he eventually showed up. However, Jesus demonstrated that God's inaction is not denial. He proved his power over death by performing a miraculous resurrection. Recall this from Isaiah 55:8-9. The Lord says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways. My ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts are higher than your thoughts, just as the heavens are higher than the earth." God's viewpoint is greater than our comprehension. He understands what is best for us and has a broad perspective. So let's not give up when there are delays. Rather, let us put our faith in God's knowledge and perfect time. Even though we cannot see it, let us have trust that he is working things out for our good. God doesn't reject us when he takes his time. Rather, it gives us a chance to grow in our faith and see his amazing power at work in our lives. Principle 2. Patience is a virtue. In Mere Christianity, C.S. Lewis states, "The great thing is to stop regarding all the unpleasant things as interruptions of one's own or real life if one can. In actuality, though, what one refers to as the disruptions is actually their true life, the life that God is bringing into their existence on a daily basis. A person's own mind creates the phantom of their true life. At least this is what I observe when I get epiphanies, but it's difficult to remember all the time. Sometimes it feels like God is taking a while to answer our requests in our lives. Despite our fervent prayers for deliverance, healing, and breakthroughs, God doesn't appear to be answering. Feeling let down and wondering whether God has forgotten us or if our prayers are not being answered is a normal emotion. As Lewis states in Letters to Malcolm, we have to present to him what is within us, not what should be within us. The first prayer that comes before all other prayers is, "May it be the real I who speaks." I pray that I'm speaking to the actual thought. It's important to keep in mind that God doesn't operate slowly or reluctantly. Rather, they present chances for greater miracles, for a stronger faith, and for the manifestation of his glory. God frequently uses delays in our life to set the stage for remarkable things. much as Jesus did when he raised Lazarus from the dead to demonstrate his power over death. In a society that prioritizes quickness and instant satisfaction, patience may appear to be a lost virtue. We're accustomed to quick turnaround times, fast food, and high-speed internet. We want everything to go as planned and in accordance with our timeline. But the truth is that we seldom find God's timing to be in line with our own. Being patient involves more than just waiting. It also involves fortitude, tenacity, and faith. It's about holding on to hope when things look hopeless and submitting our will to God's will and purpose. James 5:7-8 in the Bible tells us to be patient then, my brothers and sisters, until the coming of the Lord. Observe how the farmer patiently awaits the autumn and spring rains in order for the land to produce its precious crop. The return of the Lord is approaching. Therefore, you too must have patience and perseverance. This is like the farmer who patiently awaits the crop. It is our duty to patiently await the accomplishment of God's promises. Being patient is a deliberate decision to put our faith in God's faithfulness in the face of unknown circumstances, not a passive state. Let's be honest. Exercising patience can be difficult. It is difficult to face challenges, to feel as though our prayers are going unanswered, and to feel as though time is passing quickly. But keep in mind that God cherishes patience above all other virtues. It fortifies our faith, fortifies our character, and gets us ready for the rewards He has in store. Disappearing uncertainty seeps in and we are drawn to assume charge. However, trying to expedite God's plan would only make you feel angry and let down. Rather, let us accept patience as a virtue, understanding that it builds character and resilience. According to Romans 5:3-4, not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. Let us put our faith in God's perfect time, understanding that He is working things out for our good. In accordance with Romans 8:28, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Recall that the waiting season is a time for development, improvement, and getting ready for the benefits God has in store for us. It is not a waste of time. Therefore, let us practice patience while we wait, trusting that God is dependable and that His promises will be realized in His perfect time. Principle 3. Have faith in God's impeccable timing. According to C.S. Lewis in the Screw Tape Letters, our job is to keep men thinking about what will happen to them. The enemy wants them to be concerned about what they do. The present is filled with everlasting light, but the past is locked and no longer flows. As a result, the future is the aspect of time that is most unlike eternity. Therefore, worrying about things we cannot control or focusing on the future causes anxiety, which can only be overcome by trust. As instructed by the Scriptures, let patience have its perfect work. Being patient is not a passive quality. Rather, it is developed in life's waiting room. Even while nothing seems to be changing, deep changes are undoubtedly taking place behind the surface. Your spiritual muscles will get stronger and more resilient as a result of practicing patience. Never undervalue the waiting times, and if things are not moving forward as rapidly as you had intended, do not lose hope. Keep in mind that God will bless you more when the time comes if you wait longer. The rewards of your patience will be above your wildest expectations once God determines that you are ready. Everybody has goals they want to achieve, problems they want to overcome, and people they want to meet. However, it is normal to become impatient and disappointed when our wait seems to take longer than expected and to wonder, when will this finally happen? On the other hand, there are instances when God's purpose is delayed not because He is not working, but rather because we are not yet prepared. Even though you may think you are ready for what you see, if you could see God's vision, you would realize you are not ready for it yet. You require additional time to develop, grow, and get experience. Let's go back to Genesis 21 and the narrative of Abraham and Sarah. Abraham received a promise from God that he would father many countries. However, when God's promise was fulfilled and their son Isaac was born, Abraham was 100 years old and Sarah was 90. Consider the weight of bearing a promise for over a century before it was fulfilled by God in perfect timing. We frequently encounter circumstances in our lives where we anxiously await God's involvement. We sincerely pray for breakthroughs, restoration, healing, and provision. But it appears that God has a different schedule than we do. We could experience impatience, anxiety, or even doubt as we wonder if God would answer our prayers or take action on our behalf. Consider the waiting period as a period of growth, improvement, and preparedness. God utilized Abraham and Sarah's waiting period to shape them into vessels prepared for the realization of his promise, just as they encountered difficulties and setbacks throughout that time. So let us, my dear friends, bury trust deep in our hearts. Let us have faith that God keeps his promise, that he is at work in the background, arranging everything to fit his flawless purpose. Let us wait with hope, believing that God will accomplish what he has promised when the time is appropriate. Let us develop an attitude of praise, adoration, and thankfulness as we make our way through this waiting season, recognizing God's benevolence, omnipotence, and unfailing love. Proverbs 3:5-6 does, in fact, provide us with important guidance. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. This verse exhorts us to give God our timetables, wills, and comprehension. It asks us to put all of our faith in his omnipotence, discernment, and loyalty. Our faith should endure in prayer even in the face of apparent hopelessness, a faith that acknowledges the superiority of God's timing and ways over our own. He always has the ideal timing. Principle 4. Discover tranquility in God's timing. Men are not angered by mere misfortune, but by misfortunes conceived as injuries, writes Lewis in the Screw Tape Letters, and the sensation of damage is based on the perception that a just claim has been denied. Your patient will feel hurt more frequently and become irritable as a result of being persuaded to put greater claims on life, because his thoughts can be focused on the realm of stillness and humility right now. He will discover serenity and a sense of peace if he accepts this. In Psalm 46:10, God commands us to be still and know that I am God. This poem emphasizes the value of finding peace within and taking a moment to acknowledge God's omnipresence and absolute control despite life's hectic schedules. We find calm in this silence that is beyond comprehension and shields our hearts from uncertainty and worry. Embracing the waiting process is another step toward finding peace in God's timing. Waiting should be viewed as an opportunity for introspection and strengthening our relationship with God, not as a period of inaction or frustration. Giving up control and placing all your faith in God's timing is the first step toward finding peace in his timing. It is about accepting that God's timing is perfect, even when it doesn't match our expectations, and letting go of our urge to control the results. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, is consoling advice found in Philippians 4:6-7. And in Christ Jesus, the peace of God, which surpasses all comprehension, will keep watch over your hearts and minds. This chapter shows us that controlling every circumstance or possessing all the answers does not lead to ultimate calm. Rather, it results from giving God our cares and fears and resting in his omnipotent rule. It can be difficult to find peace in God's timing in a turbulent and unpredictable world. We can feel pressured to worry, mistrust, or exert our own willpower. But true peace comes from giving our worries and anxiety over to God and believing that he is working things out for our good. Our trust is bolstered, and our hearts are ready to receive the blessings God has in store for us as we wait patiently and eagerly. Now let's set out on a quest to find peace in God's perfect timing. Let's give him our anxieties and fears, believing that he is in charge and that his time is always perfect. Let us take solace in the knowledge that his peace will preserve our hearts and thoughts while we wait patiently and expectantly, leading us to a closer relationship with him. Principle 5. Have faith in God's supreme dominion. As C.S. Lewis describes in Mere Christianity, our lives are like living dwellings. God steps in to finish building that home. Perhaps at first you can see what he is doing, repairing the roof leaks, adjusting the drains, and so forth. You are not startled because you understand that those tasks need to be completed. However, he then begins banging on the house in a way that hurts horribly and doesn't make sense. What is he doing here on earth? The explanation is that he is constructing a very different kind of home than the one you had in mind, creating courtyards, running up towers, and adding extra floors here and there. You expect it to be transformed into a respectable small cottage, but instead he is erecting a palace. He plans to move in and make it his own. It is made clear in Proverbs 19:21 that although a person may have numerous ideas, God's purpose will ultimately come to pass. Though we might create our own plans, God's plan is ultimately the one that holds true. In these moments of waiting and uncertainty, it is simple to doubt God's omnipotence. Some may ask why specific things are occurring or why it seems like our prayers are going unanswered. However, we must keep in mind that God's plans and thoughts are far better than ours during these times. Even while we might not always comprehend what He has planned, we can have faith that He is working everything out for our good. It also means believing in God's perfect time when one trusts in His absolute authority. It entails accepting and submitting to His dominion over all things. Putting our faith in God's omnipotent rule can provide us strength and peace in an unpredictable and turbulent world. Strong reminders can be found in Psalm 103:19, which states, "The Lord has established His throne in heaven, and His kingdom rules over all." This phrase effectively emphasizes that even in circumstances that are beyond our control, God is in charge. His goals will be accomplished, His methods will be more magnificent, and His plans will be superior. We must give God our goals, our will, and our desires in order to trust in His ultimate dominion. It entails accepting that despite our inability to see it, He is aware of what is best for us. Ecclesiastes 3:11 tells us that He has made everything beautiful in its time. Therefore, we need to keep in mind that even when God's timing doesn't line up with ours, it is still perfect. Even while the waiting may make us irritable and tired, we may have confidence that God keeps His word and that His timing is always perfect. So let us acknowledge that God is in charge of everything and put our faith in His omnipotence. Let us give Him our will and our goals, and let us take solace in the knowledge that He is working things out for our good. According to Romans 8:28, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Spend some time being still and hearing from God, my dear friends. Your assurance is in the stillness of your heart. "My child, I see your pain," He is saying. "I hear the cries. Have faith in me and I'll hold you up. Hold on, for it is about to dawn. Your faith will be your beacon of guidance, and your tenacity will bring you triumph." God is aware of your weariness, but He also knows that you are incredibly strong. Continue. You are never by yourself. May you be filled with divine peace and power that will help you overcome any obstacles in your path. Remain patient, have faith, and have confidence that God is at work in the background. Rely on God. He is dependable. Your suffering won't persist indefinitely, and your pleas won't go unheard. Have faith in His plan. He is laying the groundwork for a happy and hopeful future. God hears your plea and sees your pain. Remain steadfast, for He keeps His word and His love never ends.